Hi YouTube, XtremeTrainz here. So if you watch my channel a lot, you'd recognize that this is a different location to where I normally do my videos. And that's because uni's gone back, and so in order to get my videos as quickly as I can, I'm filming them at my other university accommodation. So what are we waiting for? Today on my doorstep arrived this parcel here. Well, if you can call it a parcel. As you can see, it's a bag full of, hang on, is that a Thomas logo? So this is the Loz Bricks Thomas and Friends Mega Pack. It contains 4 engines, James, Thomas, Percy, and Emily, in a buildable brick form. Now, on the wiki, this is listed as a product, but as we're going to explore in a minute, and as you can probably tell, these are actually bootleg toys, just like the other Loz bricks that I showed earlier on my channel, which were the Transformers nanoblock style figures. I believe these are more of a standard brick building style, but they're definitely fakes. However, they're the kind of sets which LEGO hasn't ever made and no toy company has really made, which are Thomas sets made from standard LEGO bricks. So I'm really keen to have a look at them. Hopefully you are too. What are you waiting for? Let's get into it. So if you weren't sure if this was a knockoff yet, I pulled off the bubble wrap and literally all of this is in a plastic Ziploc bag. So yeah, this definitely screams knockoff to me. I'm just, you can see, emptying this out now. I've got a lot of bags, a lot of pieces. And you've got 4 engines in here, right? However, what I want to quickly note is you do have proper individual instructions for each of these engines, which I think is really nice. It'll take me a while to sift through which bags are which, but you can see these parts are just a little bit smaller from my initial impressions than LEGO bricks. They're about halfway between nanoblocks and your standard LEGO bricks. But either way, these look like very exciting toys. You can see there's Thomas's face. Hello! Yeah, I'm keen to put these together. They do have that really weird knockoff smell to them though. Like there's a weird plastic smell if you've ever smelled like knockoff toys, and they've got it. So I'm going to get building and get back to you ASAP. Alright, in the hecticness of my life, which is university and working part-time, I've managed to build the first 2 of these models, which is the Thomas and the Percy. So I think because I've realised they're actually very, very detailed, there's a lot to talk about, I'm going to split this video in 2. We're going to look at Thomas and Percy in this video and James and Emily in the next video. But let's look at the ones we've got right in front of me. Now, the first thing I want to say is a very quick talk about the size of these models. So what I'm going to do here is bring in the recent, oops, pulling things apart, as you can see, yay LEGO, Creator Train, which I talked about in a previous video. Now this is an $8 toy in Australia, which I think is really, really impressive for what it is. Very, very nice. Putting it next to these Thomas and Percy models from Loz blocks here, you can see just how small these are. And what I've discovered with these Loz blocks is they're actually direct rip-offs of LEGO bricks, but they're about 1/3 of the size, which is why a lot of the parts you're seeing are probably very like reminiscent of normal LEGO bricks, but they're actually not. So what I'm going to do now is, as per usual, knockoffs seem to come with a copious amount of spare parts. This isn't even all of them, as I'll talk about in just a second, but I want to try and get a comparison of the same piece from both. So what we can do here is, as you can see, I'm deconstructing this because I want to show you this isn't me, this is no camera tricks, this is legit real. So here we can see the 2 different sizes. This here is the LEGO brick. This is a 2x1 tile piece. This here is the Lumen equivalent, a 2x1 tile piece. So as you can see, the Lumen bricks are not quite half size, about 2/3 the size of the LEGO bricks. And that applies to all of the parts that you see here, most of which are directly copied from the LEGO equivalent. Even to the point where, as you can see, this came with Thomas here, this little thing. If you're a LEGO collector in recent times, you'll know this is used to separate the parts, and this is what comes with Thomas. So it's actually a legit scaled down copy of the LEGO version, and you can see that even on the little tops of the bricks, they've written Loz on there. It's upside down, but you can see what I'm talking about. So the brick quality of these is actually pretty good, and the designs, as you can see, are actually also quite nice. So let's take a look at them a little bit closer now we've talked about the bricks. So the first engine is obviously the #1 engine, Thomas. Now, I think the first thing I can say is they're actually very well designed, but in the same way that they're kind of show their knockoffs, They're not very well built, as in this is incredibly fragile. If I drop this, it would smash literally into all of the pieces that it has. Like, there's a lot of fine detailing on here, which is nice, but it also means it's really fragile, and there's a lot of connections which are really poor. So, for example, this whole back section here is attached by 2 studs, which only attach in the last step. Equally, something which I think is a problem on all of these builds, as you can see, the undercarriage is made up of lots of small bricks, and you insert the wheels into those. They're modified bricks, got a hole in them. All this stuff here on the bottom, you can see it's kind of a little bit hodgepodge. This is because these are all the spare parts. I stuck these on the bottom as reinforcements because you have all this weight of the toy resting on these 6 wheels, and so if you put any downwards pressure, the wheels will just pop off. So they're not very structurally sound, and I don't think they're very good play models because they just really don't stick together very well in the same way that a lot of nanoblock sets, particularly the Transformers ones, had a lot of pieces that could break off. That said, the actual design of this is very good. Why? Because the only sticker used on this set is literally this one here, so to give you that blue and red stripe, and that's the same on the other side. So this here is all done with Lego or lumen bricks. This is lumen bricks, this is bricks. These patterns here, this is printed. Thomas's face is obviously printed. You've got a really clever use of some interesting parts. You've got like the Borok eyepiece used as a funnel, the dome. You've got the relatively new, these are Lego minifigure lipstick pieces in gold, which are used as the whistles. You've got the excellent use of the round tiles, 1x1 round tiles, and also round studs to create the windows and the lamp on the back. You've got the buffer detailing. Interestingly, Thomas's are different. Like the front, they use these crystal pieces, gem pieces in black to do that. On the back, Thomas has used lightsaber pieces and these black ones, so that's a bit interesting, I suppose. You've got a really interesting use of some, I can't really show them here, I think they're Ninjago sword pieces, which are used for the front of Thomas there. I think it's really interesting. And this is like a coffee mug, like a Lego City coffee mug, which they've stuck a little stud on the back of to give you Thomas's headlamp. Yeah, it's really nice. There's also, it's kind of hard to see, there's also even on all of them, you can see the parts like kind of coming off already when I fit around with them. There's also interior detailing. You can see just the edge of a knob. I won't show you it because it's going to fall apart, but there is even internal detailing on the inside of the cab, which is really nice. So the way, even though this is built quite, not very strong, it's actually got a lot of really nice details on it, which I think is really impressive. I think Thomas's face is quite nice. It's probably a little bit off, but it's definitely a very good attempt at the CGI face. And I think this is a lot better than a lot of the official faces, particularly I think this is far better than the Trackmaster face. Very nice. I think the front profile of this engine is really good. It captures a lot of the right shapes. I think the problem with him is he's too long. And you kind of get that by when you look at it, you can see just how far away each of the wheels are. They're obviously, this Thomas is too long to be correctly scaled, and that to me is a little bit funny because he's very narrow. Like, Thomas is a narrow engine, but he's very narrow because of the fact he's so long. So, yeah, in short, this is a fragile but relatively good-looking model. I think it's the best brick-built Thomas that we've seen. Like, it's far better proportioned than the Duplo version or the Mega Bloks version, but it's definitely not perfect. Also, they do all come with this display track. Look how good it looks when you just put those brown tiles on there. Lego hinting, put some brown tiles on there. Looks really good. And you do, interestingly enough, get these little printed pieces for all of the engines. So this is a knockoff that is using the licensed Thomas and Friends logo. Yeah, wow. Very brave. This company is very brave in literally stealing that and not even just putting it on the box. They put it on the actual toy. So yeah, soz laws if I get you in trouble from Mattel, but this is, I'm sure if you went to Mattel with this design and they would improve it a little bit, they'd probably actually let you do this, because they're actually quite good models. Considering, again, that they're made, you can already see the wheels have kind of come out a little bit. Considering that these are made, in a Chinese knockoff factory, I imagine, they're actually pretty good. The last thing to say is they don't roll very well on the tracks, and that's because the wheels aren't a set distance apart. You have to kind of push them in and pull them out to get them to sit on the tracks. And there's not a lot of clearance either. So they don't roll, as you can see, they don't roll super well. And they're not compatible with Lego trains because, as I said, this is a Lego train track piece, but it's about a third smaller. So these are just too narrow to fit on the Lego train tracks. Although I imagine if you got the tracks that aren't pre-built, like just the rails, you could probably make up a layout for them. So that's Thomas. Let's get on to his best friend. Percy was a much nicer build than Thomas. Thomas was really, really painful to get together. A lot of his construction was quite flimsy. As you can see, I'm just trying to stop it from falling apart right now. Quite flimsy and quite very fragile. Percy comes together a lot easier, a lot faster than Thomas, and part of that's because his boiler section is, like, as you can see, just lots of these pieces stacked together. And it doesn't need to have all that effort going into the side tanks or anything to do that. Again, of the two that I've built thus far, I think Percy is the far better model. Why? We can see here that he's got a really, really nice CGI face. This is possibly the best CGI Percy face I've ever seen on a piece of merchandise. I think it's really, really good. I think it really captures the new CGI Percy, and it does a really good job of doing that. Again, this is very, very well detailed. You've got all the striping pattern in here. You've got the dome, again, a lipstick piece used for the whistle. You've got the portholes for the driver and fireman. Again, there's more details inside there. It's kind of hard to see. But there are, like, some levers and stuff inside. Nothing on the back of this one, but you do get the coal bunker detail and the lamp detail. Again, you get buffers, coupling. Percy is unlike Thomas in that both of his are the same. So you can see that that's a construction on the front. And, oop, there you go. I've just knocked a piece off. Construction on the front and the back is the same with the crystal pieces. Clever use of the these are paddle pot pieces for minifigures here to give you the supports for your smoke box. Again, nice detailing with the coupling and the levers and the lights. And the striping detail and everything's all very, very nice. As again, you can see the cylinders aren't quite accurate. I don't know why. This is a weird design choice, in my opinion. For some reason, they went with the stripy cylinders, even though he doesn't actually have stripy cylinders. So that's a little bit weird. I think Percy's proportions are better. Like, he's still a little bit too long, but because he's a lot wider, it doesn't look as bad. And I think it kind of works okay. So to me, that's all right. Again, printed pieces, yeah, he's pretty nice looking. I do quite like this Percy. I think it's a really, really nice Percy. One thing I will quickly point out is that the instructions, for some bizarre reason, show that you should assemble it like this, with that red piece on the front. Now the reason for that is because the front of Percy's boiler has a red stripe around it, but obviously it's not red. So to give it just a whole lot more show accuracy, I switched those two plates. And you can see that you still get the striping effect, it looks really nice, but you also then get the green, which makes so much more sense for Percy than the red. So that would be a piece of advice I would say there. Again, you can see on the bottom, I've built up underneath here with the spare black pieces because he had the same problem as Thomas, so I've built him up to make them a little bit more structurally stable. But otherwise, I think the Percy's quite nice. I think when you put them together, they're a good pair, for example, at this angle, but it's when you do something like this that you start to see that, like, Thomas is just very weirdly proportioned, whereas Percy looks much more appropriate. Again, if you go like this, and you go right side on, you see that Thomas is a little bit tall and thin, whereas Percy looks a lot more fleshed out. So that is my look at those two. Alright, so having had a look at the first two of the 4 Lumen knockoff / clone / faker unlicensed Thomas toys, I think they're actually, on the whole, pretty good. I think they're a lot of fun. I think that their builds are definitely challenging and a little bit frustrating at times, but they do look quite nice by the end as display pieces. They're obviously not toys because they're way too fragile and they will get broken, and they're also not compatible with any other train systems. So I think as display pieces they're quite nice, but otherwise they're not. A quick comment, Thomas I think was missing one piece, and one, like, even though look how many spare pieces there were, there was one, like, quite important piece that he was missing. Thankfully, I could quickly, it was in, like, the last step, so I just kind of moved some other pieces around and fixed it. Percy's pieces were all there as far as I can tell, and he went together quite well. So, you know, considering they came wrapped in a plastic bag, I'm pretty impressed. But I'm going to leave the price till the final video, or the second part of this review, because I think that's really interesting to talk about. So, while I'm off building, I want you guys to let me know your thoughts on these. If you're interested in these, maybe I think the question to be thinking about is, what would you buy these, for example, maybe if Lego made them? Like, you know, understanding that Lego would obviously make them a lot stronger, probably less detailed, and also they'd be bigger too. They wouldn't be as small because these are obviously smaller bricks, so it's easier to fit more details in there. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on that. I'm going to go back and keep building, and I will see you in the next part of this review. As always, do those cool things on YouTube while I'm away, and that's all we've got time for. This is XtremeTrainz.